So I'm going to be talking about how to level up as a dev with content creation. And I'm talking as a dev because I'm a developer, but if you work with any other area in tech, if you're a data scientist, if you work with DevOps, that's all applicable to you. So first, I'm Pachi. I work at on Relic as a DevRel engineer. I used to be a nanny for almost 10 years when I transitioned to tech. So I learned to tech with internet and free tutorials. And as a content creator, I love to write. I am a streamer. I also am a speaker. Sometimes I do podcasts and YouTube videos. So I have been creating content. Devs should create content. We're developers. We always have to learn something, right? Like every day. It doesn't matter how long you have been coding. For example, if you are a front-end engineer, there's a new framework for JavaScript coming out every year, but there's some update. So we as programmers, we have always to learn something. And even when you don't have to, we are curious people. We would like to learn. Like I am a DevRel engineer. I work with front-end, but right now I'm learning mobile just because I think it's fun. And I know that lots of you really feel the same. We just like to learn. There's so many cool techs out there. And it's a part of what developers do. And this need that you have, this like that you have for learning is a great tool, a great fuel to content creation. Why should you create content? Like, so maybe you are a developer, you have been programming for 10 years. Why should you start now? First and foremost, you can showcase your expertise. What does that mean? If you are an expert in a language or in a framework or some tech, if somebody asks you, hey, how much do you know? Sometimes, you cannot just show your entire code base because it's too much. But hey, here's my portfolio. Here's all the articles I have read about that, or all the videos I have recorded about that. So when you create content, you have this portfolio of your expertise to show. Second, teaching is the best way to learn. When you're learning something new, if you write about it, that's the best way for the information to stay in your head and for you to make sure that you really learn. So if you sit down and you write, how does loops work? You think you do. No, you understood that. But when you sit down to write, the information gets better in your head. And later on, maybe you're learning something now and you don't work with that, but like in a year, you have to work with that tag and say, I don't remember that. You can go back to the content that you wrote and use that. So really it's the best way to learn and to make sure that everything you're learning stays in your head. Types of content. There are lots and lots of types of content out there, and it's hard to choose. So first, writing. And writing is not always blog posts. Like you can blog, you can write tutorials step by step, and even tweeting or posting on LinkedIn. If you write really good content, like if you're on Twitter, some people write really good tweeted threads with great information, and that's content creation. So if you're writing useful information and you sharing what you learn or teaching something, you're creating content. Streaming. I know we can stream in YouTube. I stream Twitch, and technically, conferences are also streamed because they are live. There's a bit more of a niche thing because, since you're speaking live, it's a little harder to get started. Some people are shy. Some people are afraid of the public interaction. So definitely, it's fun. I would give it a try. I would watch people streaming live code on Twitch, but I understand if it's not your favorite thing. You can create videos. Now, YouTube is the first for that. I know that people are really liking TikTok nowadays, and Instagram has the Reels, that is like you record videos on that. So if you want to start doing videos, those are places you could go. Speaking like I'm doing right now. There are conferences. There are also meetups, right? That there are these modern day conferences, and they often help you to get started with public speaking. Excuse me. So there's another good way for content creation. And podcasts. With podcasts, it's great because you can start your own podcast. And with that, you can do a podcast where just you talking about something. You can invite a friend to be your co-host, or you can invite guests. So it can be in format like, or you can start being guests on podcasts. There are lots of tech podcasts that are always looking for new guests. And in Relic, my team, we have 3 podcasts that we are always looking for guests. Actually, if you'd like to be a guest on one of them, please, my DMs are open. We're always looking for people. And there's a good way for you to start practicing speaking. And because podcasts usually are just voice, you're not showing your face. If you are shy, they're a little easier to get started. But if you have never created content, I always recommend you to start with writing. That's the thing that people ask all the time, like, what you talk about? You say, I want to talk about this thing, but there's so many people talking about that already. And don't let that stop you. Sometimes your way of talking about something or writing, your experience is what makes a difference. For example, when I was starting to learn to code, I watched like 5 different JavaScript professors, instructors, and they were all great with great reviews, but only one worked for me because his way of speaking was the way that my brain understood better. So sometimes your way of speaking, your experience is going to be helpful to somebody. So never stop creating content because you think that the topic has been talked about a lot, right? There's always say, try to write content for you first, and then, see if people are liking. Like, for example, for me right now, it would be, I know HTML, I know CSS, I know JavaScript, I know about writing, I know about streaming, I know about public speaking, and about content. That's all I know. And you can write about anything. It doesn't have to be technical. It can be soft skills. And what questions do you have? Or what questions people around you have? What is Redux? Vue or React? How to make my own API? So you get the list of all those things that you know, that you're learning, and questions you have. And you go through that, and you have a huge list of things you can create your content about. And again, it doesn't matter. HTML has been out there for years, but there's always something new or a different view to write about. And now I'm learning Python. I can write a guy, hey, how to start with Python, or how is Python different from JavaScript? That's the language that I knew first. And yes, like just really choose one, write this list, write down all these topics, choose something, and just ask more questions. The questions that you have is a great way to start because, for example, how to make my own API. I will do the research for that. And while I'm doing the research and learning step by step, I started writing about that. It doesn't have to be a thing with your answer. It just can be with your experience. If you go to dev.to/Pachi codes and you see my very first blog post, there was 10 lines just writing about what I was learning and how I was feeling. And that was how I started. And if you go see my last blog post, it's much more complex. So if you want to start and you don't know how to start, I always say that why don't you write your first blog post just about your journey? Why did you start? Did you get interested in getting to tech? How did you start and then why? What have you been learning? What do you know? So just for you to get the writing practice and for people to know you. So if you don't know, you want to get started and know how, write about your journey in tech. First, you have to choose your content type. So from the first list of content, like I say, I always recommend writing, you choose the content type that you think you'll be more comfortable with and their topic. Go back to that list that you just wrote and choose a topic, or maybe narrow down to 5 topics and, choose something that you think you'd be comfortable writing about. And again, if you don't know, just writing about your journey. So how to get started?
Thank you, Pachi, for that wonderful talk. So I'm sure the audience members would be having a lot of questions to go over. I can see that the audience members are still a bit shy to ask questions, but we have around 145 claps for your talk. So I guess a lot of people are really happy to understand how to create content as a developer.
So amazing talk, Pachi. Yeah. For me, creating content, it takes a lot of time. there is a lot of content that we can create: social, blog, YouTube video, and so many things. But how do you figure out that which one to choose, which one to go after, and also how to be more productive in creating content?
So I would tell you to start with one thing that you really like. For me, was Twitch. So I was streaming on Twitch, and that was okay. And once I was comfortable there, I started doing a little more Twitter. So don't try to do everything. See what you like more, and do where you find people that resonate with you. Like I have so many great people on Twitter that I really like share my content. But when I go to LinkedIn, the people there doesn't really love the kind of content that I share. So just see where you have people that like what you're talking about. And in tech, Twitter is a great place. Like have really great people there. And I have seen that LinkedIn has also some nice communities around. So I would tell you to check out those and see where to get started.
So first, let's start with the simple ones. A lot of people want to understand what are your responsibilities as a DevRel engineer. So would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so it really depends on where do you work. For me and Relic, we write content and we do streams about some technologies. Like, for example, last month, Relic bought CodeStream, that's an extension for VS Code. So that month, we are streaming and learning about that and creating content about that. We also work with community, like I'm also on Twitter and check when people talk about New Relic. And right now, like I'm not speaking about New Relic, but this is part of our job because connecting with the community, like I didn't tell you about what is New Relic and what it does, but because you watch this talk and tomorrow somebody say, hey, I'm using New Relic, you're gonna get curious because hey, I saw Pachi yesterday and she talked about New Relic too. So what is that? So it's not the overall people, they don't sell you a product, they just present you the idea.
Wow, so that's amazing. So I would say creating content, community building, and through that, like understanding the need of your community, and so networking with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a question from Raj. He wants to know, will starting his podcast will help him in like opening up, probably just driving away the discomfort of public speaking or something of that sort. So will starting a podcast be a way to get into opening up?
Yes, podcasts are great because nobody's seeing your face, you're just recording your voice and they can edit that later. So that's really great. I love doing podcasts, and if you don't want to start one right away, you can look for podcasts for to be a guest. There's lots of people looking out there, and you can just record you talking. You can choose a team and do like a season, like I'm gonna be talking about this, or you can invite a friend over, somebody to talk. So to be more like a conversation. Some podcasts, they're very well scripted and the structure, and like the ones that I record, they're just me chatting with somebody. I like that, but podcasts are great for you to get more into speaking and get comfortable.
So there are folks here who want to know what's your daily motivation, what keeps you going.
Really, is the community. That's what is really. After I got into tech, I met really great people that have supported me since the beginning, and I met lots of women that they didn't know that a woman could program. And my motivation is to inspire other women, especially girls that are starting. And I think that's a true and everywhere in the planet, like even the US, that there's so little women working in tech because they feel that they don't have a space. So my biggest motivation is just like put my face out there and show to the girls that women can code.
That is absolutely beautiful. And I really love your story too. Transitioning from being a nanny to coming to tech and now actually giving back to your community, that is the feminist tech Brazilian women community. That is amazing. Producing content. So there's one more question. I think you did answer some part of it during your talk, but let's delve into it a bit more. So as a beginner, what is like, the thing that you need to get started if you want to, start in content creation?
Yes, I always recommend starting with writing because just sit down and write. You can write a little paragraph a day. You don't have to have your own blog. Dev.to is a great platform. They have a great community there. You just go there and create your profile. Then you follow me and they tell me like you create a profile because you watch this talk and they're going to read this stuff. And just have like some topics to write about, really things that are interested. And like I say, if you are unsure, if you say, hey, I don't want to write technical content, I don't know if I'm good enough, just start writing about, why you started in tech, what is your favorite tech, like what do you work right now, just to get the practice out there, right? And once you feel more comfortable, the one more important thing for you to create content is to consume content. So if you want to write, like go to dev and read other people's writing. If you want to stream, go to other people's stream and watch them. If you want to be a YouTuber, watch YouTuber videos, because so you understand the process. You see what worked for them and being like, I don't like this YouTuber, but I like that one. I can do something similar. But yes, if you are totally beginner, writing is the best thing for you to get started.
So a more sustainable path to actually getting there, because making viral content is tricky. So yeah, awesome. Being part of a lot of communities. So just wanted to talk about how we have 186 claps on your talk so far, which is pretty amazing. So people want to know, like, as a DevRel, you create content, but how do you exactly distribute it? Keeping in mind that you're a DevRel, so you have to, as you mentioned, like keep in mind certain guidelines for promoting your organization. So what are the different things that you have in mind while promoting content or creating content as a DevRel engineer?
About like how you distribute that, every time you create content for your company, depends if they have a marketing team, the marketing gonna share that. So usually they have a plan. Like for New Relic, when we have content packages. So if you're talking about this one topic, the marketing team gonna help us with that. But sometimes like I create some personal stuff. It's still DevRel because like is makes sense to the company, but it's not about New Relic. Then I distribute, like I just share my medias. If I write a blog post, I tell people in my communities, on the Discord channels that I'm part of. I tell people on the streams. I share on Twitter. And not just share a link. I share a little bit of description, like, hey, I wrote this blog post about this and that, and check it out. So, but if you're writing content as a DevRel for your company about something your company is doing, and your company usually has a marketing team or people working on marketing, those people will be responsible to distribute that.
All right. So with this, I guess that brings us to the end of the questions, and we have reached the mark of 200 claps for this talk. So yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
So thank you so much for joining, Pachi. I think that brings us to the end of this amazing session. And I had a really great time. I learned so much, and hopefully I will take you up on that offer on reaching out on Twitter and getting some feedback on what I'm doing as a content creator.
Thank you so much, Pachi, Sneha. So do you have anything, any last message to share, Pachi, with the audience before we leave?
Just get started and just go to Twitter and tweet about the conference. It's like a little tiny piece of content, but it's very good. And again, if you ask some question and have time to answer, you can post a Twitter and tag me. I'm gonna answer that. And again, thank you so much for inviting me. That was a pleasure.